let's move on now to the Denver Broncos in our key players series. And Ryan and I, we're going to break down why. And this one we feel is pretty obvious because of everything that has gone into this team, especially leading into last season, and how just abysmally awful Russell Wilson played. That he is the key player when it comes to Denver Broncos 2023 success. And before we break down why that is, if you've not already, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell to get notified when new Broncos content gets released. Brian and I, we have a bunch more content coming out as we're still in the off season, but also once when the season starts, we will have weekly prediction videos that includes all of the Broncos games. And if you want to get notified when those videos come out, the easiest way is to subscribe and ring the bell. And Ryan, with that being said, let's get into it here.
Let's do it.
Yeah, this is just obvious, right? I mean, because if you look at this team, this defense is still top-notch even without Bradley Chubb. It was top-notch after they traded Bradley Chubb. But maybe you can start to bring in some arguments about the quality of the receivers, and maybe if Cortland Sutton's not there, Tim Patrick, he's coming off a torn ACL. We'll have to see. And then Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Judy's actually extremely talented. I think he's just not – he is just not being put in the best position to succeed. And so it kind of comes down then
he has struggled a little bit with injury. A little bit, not a little bit. But I think this season really comes down to the progress that Russell Wilson makes. I think they still owe Seattle one more first-round pick. And then
I believe this is the last year. Because I remember I'd always get them and the Texans mixed up with Deshaun Watson, and the Texans just traded their 2024 pick to the Cardinals. So I believe that they're done. But double check me in the comments. I agree with you there. Is we did this big investment, and you can kind of understand maybe if they didn't make the playoffs or make the Super Bowl in year one, if it looked pretty, but it just didn't look. It just didn't look pretty at all. I think what was the stat that you showed me? If Drew Lock had stayed quarterback, they would have been 9-1 through 10 games that year or something like that.
So if Drew
– or through the first 10 games.
In 2021, when Drew Lock was starting, they averaged 17.7 points a game, which was pretty well below average. But if that was their offensive stat line, if they had 17.7 points per game, or 18 points, we'll say, they would have been 9-2 through the first 11 games.
Something like that. Yeah. Which I think just goes to show how awful that they have been playing. And so I think another thing, too, to add on to this, as well as there's some decent talent around them, then also the first pick of the draft of this new coaching regime led by Sean Payton was a receiver in Marvin Mims. Mm-hmm. They also invested heavily into the offensive line. They got Ben Powers from the Ravens, which he was one of the top left guards in the league. And they got Mike McGlinchey, right tackle from San Francisco, who was also considered one of the more elite tackles. So there's now there's no reason then to not say hey, we have everything for you right here.
Yeah.
And if they do go into the season, I'm pretty sure they do have a first-round pick next year. If they're trash, buy Russell Wilson. I mean, it's not Sean Payton's fault to be all right, we're in cap space. Hell, because I was not here to make that decision, make that trade. I'm going to go get Caleb Williams. I'm going to go get the guy that I want to have leading my system. And so then imagine a Caleb Williams or Drake May in a Sean Payton-led offense. That could be scary. That could be extremely scary. So everything's on the line this year for Russell Wilson. Everything's on the line, I think, for his future with the Broncos, I would think. I know it's a lot of money, and that's a big kind of prediction, but if it's a repeat of last year, I do not believe he's going to be in a Broncos uniform for that long, or at least starting. He won't be starting for that long.
Yeah, no, exactly. If they're in a position to make a reach for Caleb Williams or one of the top quarterbacks next year, he will most likely be gone. But that's why I think he is the key player for the Denver Broncos. Is if he can come out and play well, this team has no other reason to be bad. Right. Yeah. And I do think Sean Payton will get them in line and they'll be a much more competitive team in 2023. But being much more competitive than the worst offense in the league by a pretty large margin is not a hard thing to do. But so they need to be back in playoff contention and be who we thought they should have been last year. And Sean Payton can do everything he can as a coach. But if Russell Wilson doesn't play well or play like he did when he was in Seattle, then I don't know if Like, I don't think the Broncos will be remotely successful, and they will definitely not be making a playoff push. So
yeah. Well, and they got Jared Stidham as their backup, and I mean now we're going down a complete hypothetical here, but it's like, if you only put up 9 points a game like how you were last year, I mean, throw in Stidham. Like, why not? Like, it can't be any worse. So, very curious to kind of see how the season pans out for Russell Wilson and the Broncos.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's going to go one of two ways. I don't think it's going to be average. So I think that's going to wrap up this video, though, here for the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson. Let us know down below what you think Russell Wilson will do in the 2023 season. Do you think he's going to bounce back? Do you think he's going to be the same Russell Wilson that he was last season? Let us know down below. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.